Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. So in this particular video, we are going to look at how to create this particular beautiful and dynamic report we have on our screen. So it's something very simple and easy. All you just have to do is to actually get the data downloaded to your PC and follow along step by step. We are going to actually achieve the same thing you can see right now. So I'm going to show you everything you need to actually get together to actually start creating this particular beautiful dashboard on your screen using Power BI. So if you have the data downloaded, you're going to see this particular PDF that actually prepares you and prepares your mind on what you need to show as an insight in your report or your dashboard. So if I scroll down, I have the dashboard one right here, which is where we're going to get started with. So it has to do with the top and bottom analysis that we need to actually cover. So if I scroll down right here, you can see we have the second dashboard right here. And if I scroll all the way down again, we have the third dashboard. So reading through this will definitely give you the understanding of what we are going to cover in the whole dashboard creation. All right, if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, so it is time for you to do so because we have lots of content, over 200 videos right here for just Power BI and Microsoft Excel on how to create a very powerful and insightful dynamic, dashboard using either of the tools, Microsoft, Excel, and Power BI. So go ahead and subscribe and let's do it. All right, go ahead and open Power BI and click on New. Then it will actually open this for you. So there is nothing right here right now. So we need to get in data. Take, for example, you have CSV and you're trying to get Excel file. Let's see what will happen. Clicking over here. So it brings us to where we have our data, but actually there is no items. So what we can do now, we don't have to go and choose CSV or any other file. So just go over here and click on the drop down. Then you have all files. So with all files, it doesn't matter if it's a CSV, PDF or whatever, it's going to show everything right here. Then you can make a choice on which one you want to actually load. So we have multiple tables here, but we're not going to use all of them. Let's get in a customer table. So we're going to do transform. So do not touch here. It's just a preview. We have to load other tables right here. So click on new source. So from new source, you can choose your file type. It's CSV. So, all right. Out of the 5 tables that we have, we only loaded 3 tables. So we have the transactional table, which is the fact table right here. Then we have the drug lookup table, and we have the customer lookup table. All right. So with this, we're going to actually go ahead and start creating what we want from it. Okay, if you look at it now is this, we need to do a little transformation. And the transformation we want to do is to combine the first name with the last name, which is very easy. Then you need to understand the difference between the transform and the add column. The add column is a plus. The transform is actually, refining your existing column without giving you a new column. That is how I can just simply explain it. So now, if you want to actually do this, you have to hold your control key and select this one. Then you look for where it says merge columns, right? So I'm going to do this. So with it, I'm going to do space between, then let's choose this one to be full name. I'm going to go ahead and do OK. Then we have this. Okay. That is nice. The next thing we have to do right now is actually about the age group. So we're going to come here later after all to get it done when the need arises. But right away, we have all this. So for this particular one, we don't need it. We are not going to use it. So I'm going to go ahead and delete it from here. Right click and you see where it says remove and you have it removed. So let us check the drug table. So inside the drug table, we can actually go ahead and scroll through to see what we have. Okay. We are not going to use this column. So for any column we don't need to use, we have to remove them. So then that is okay. Then for our own fact table right here, we just go ahead and scroll through to see what we have. So for now, everything seems to be okay. There is nothing else we need to do. So let's go ahead and load our data to our Power BI. Just go over to home and click on close and apply. Successfully, the data has been loaded. As you can see, it's working on it to actually show us the tables we have right here. So we have those three tables, and if we go to the relationship part right here, we're going to see that it has already created relationship using the keys that is available between the three tables. So here we go. So we have one-to-many or many-to-one relationship right here. So the next thing we have to do right now is to add one extra table that will be connected to this particular table right here, which is our date table. And right now we don't have it, and it's very simple to build. So which we're going to do right now. So what you can do over here is to go into this particular part where it says table view. And from table view, you can actually take a preview of the data you loaded in. And in the other way around, we want to create a table right here. And what we can do is just to say new table. So with new table, date table is one of the table that is very easy to create using DAX or Power Query. Depends on what you want to use. So I'm just going to call this one date table, right? Or still, you can call it calendar. So just choose whatever you are going to remember. So I'm going to say add column, and I'm going to use calendar auto quickly with calendar auto, sorry. So calendar auto, close it, comma, I have this. So I'm just going to add some columns right now because right away there is nothing here. So I'm going to do, I need year. So with comma, I use the year function. So if I type in date, I have this date right here. So this date is what the calendar auto has actually generated for me. So I'm going to actually go ahead and close this for the time being. Let's see what we have. So we have lots of years here. So we are going to limit our analysis to just 2 years. But for now, let's just go with this. So we need to add more columns, right? To add more columns right now, all you have to do is to put a comma right here. So we need to actually get the month. So let's take this off for now. So put a comma on it. Oh, sorry, I've not closed this one here. Then put a comma over here, and we're going to do month. So for month, we have to do format. So with the format, we bring in the dates here, and comma, we have to tell it how we want to format this particular month. So it's going to be in a short form, then we close. So if we hit our comma again, we can add month number. So for month number, we're going to use month number to sort our main month to start from January down to December. Otherwise, we're going to have it the other way around. So what we need to do is just to type in month here. So with the month, we bring in the date, we close. And again, we need to get a weekday. So for the weekday, so we have to use our format again. Format, we bring in our date. We tell it the format we want. So DD for the short format. So we actually go ahead and close. And lastly, we need to actually sort this particular weekday right here. So what we can do right now is to actually add week number. So week number for week number, and we use the week function, weekday function. So the date, here we go. So all of this, if I just hit my enter key, I have just speedily created my date column. All right, it's not yet done. If you don't like this particular view you have right here, what you have to do right now is to click over here, then go over to the shorter format if that is what you want. So I'm going to go for this. Okay, beautiful. We have it done. So I told you about, formatting, right? Or some kind of, let's see what we have here. If I go to my calendar, I'm going to bring in my month. So in case you cannot see it very well, let's go over to format here, and let's quickly click on the value area, and let's put this on 20. So we can see, so this particular month starts from April and it ends in September. So we are supposed to have it from January down to December, so which is not really correct right now. If I take it off and let's say I have this duplicated, Ctrl C and Ctrl V to paste it down, and over here I'm going to actually change it to weekday. So for my weekday, starting from Friday and ending on Wednesday. So we have to correct all of this. So to do that now, we go over here again, and right away we click on the month, And from there, we go over here where it says sort by column. We choose the column we want to sort it by, which is the week number. So this is this here. Okay, now we go to the weekday and we sort by the weekday number, which is the week number here. So let's go ahead and check what we have done and see if that works. So now it's now from January, and here is from Sunday to Saturday. All right, next thing we have to do, we need to add the quarter, right? So to add a quarter is very simple. We just go over here, we just say quarter, or QTR for quarter. So we have the quarter function, and if we do that, we're going to have to bring the column here and hit the enter key. The next thing, if I hit my enter key right now, what I'm going to see is actually going to be a number from 1 to 4, which is not an ideal. So we need to change what this look like right now. So to do that, we just have to concatenate. So what I'm going to do is just to put here Q with a dash and close this. So if I hit my enter, I'm going to have an error. Let's see what I mean. Okay, I told you I'm going to have an error because there is nothing like concatenation right here. So I'm going to use the ampersand, which is this one. Then if I hit my enter, my problem should be solved. Can you see it now? So we now have Q1 to Q4, which is reasonable enough to actually read. You get it? This is what you need to do. So the next thing is for you to actually mark this as a date table. So marking it as a date table just tells Power BI that, you know what? Disallow your own dates from working with my data because right now I have my own custom date. How do we do that? So go over to table tools right here. And from there, we're going to click over this particular mark as a date table. So now we have this check mark here, or this toggle. So we toggle date, then we choose the column date. So validation successful. So we just go ahead and save. So the next thing is for we to connect this particular table to our other tables, just one table. So I'm going to go ahead and have this. Click over here to hide it. So you can shift this one, bring this one down, bring this one over here. So this is the sales deals, right? So here we're going to drag this into this one here, and that will create under many-to-one relationship for us. So beautifully, we have everything done that we want. Okay, for the last time before we go, we need to actually add one other table, and this table is actually called disconnected table. So it's either you're using DAX or you can actually do it using Power Query or just enter, by clicking and all of that. So I have done this several times on my channel, and everybody must have actually got used to it, specifically if you're a subscriber. Okay, in case you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, all you have to do right now is to hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. Like and leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this. So let's do it. So I go over to new measure. So let's go with new measure here. Oh, was it new measure, new measure? So that is wrong, not new measure. So how do we cancel this if we don't want to use it? So we can actually go over here and click on the cancel. So with that, the next thing we're going to do right now is to actually instead insert a table. So with this new table, we're going to create a blank table that contains nothing but the measures we're going to be using in our class. So over here, I'm going to call it calculations. So with my calculations, I put my equals sign right here. So I use this particular square, is it curly bracket? So let's show it vividly. And inside it, I'm going to type in 1 and I'm going to close it. Then if I hit my enter key, that should actually create a table for me right here called calculations. So this is where I'm going to store every single thing I have created called measure right in. And this particular table does not have any connection with any of my tables, so I don't have to bother about connecting it. You get it right now? So what we have just done now is to load in our data, just do a little transformation, load it here and check the relationship. If it is right, then create our date table. And this is just the starting point of this beautiful dashboard. All right, to speed up the whole creation process, so we have created some couple of measures that actually powers what you see right here. So I'm going to show you, every single measures I've created, and you can actually do the same thing I have done as well to get it created. Okay, first of all, let us take a look at the measures individually. So over here, the first one I'm going to show you is the total revenue, which is very, very simple to understand. So remember, we have the two tables I've shown you. So we have the transactional table, which is the fact table, and as well, we have the drug lookup table. So we use this particular related to re-establish relationship between the two tables, and we multiply this unit sales price by the unit sold from the transactional or the fact table, which is very simple. So go ahead and pause it, then type it out, and it will definitely give you the same thing I have right here. Okay. The next one we have is actually the cost of goods sold. So it's actually the same thing. There is nothing different from what we have right here. So the only difference is just the particular one is looking at the cost instead of the sales price. So it's looking at the cost. So the next one I'm going to show you is looking at the quantity sold. So for the quantity sold is just a simple summation. Remember, there is a difference between the sum x and the sum function. This one is an iterator. So it scans row by row in a table and returns the value after doing the maths or give you aggregation. This one actually sum up one single column. So one single column. That is what we have used right here. So the next one we have to look at right now should be the profit. So the profit is actually very simple. It's for we to subtract the subtract from total revenue our cost, then it will give us our total profit. So just go ahead and convert it to, dollar, pounds, or whatever, number formatting you want to use for it, right? So the next one we have to look at right here on our list is actually this particular numbers of customers. So if you're actually a beginner, this is some kind of very technical. So you have to be careful when doing this. So if you look at it, we're using distinct count. So remember, we have a table called the customer table, which is this particular table right here. And we have this table, which is our transactional table, named fact table, right? So if you look at what we have done, we are actually calculating our total customers inside the transactional or the fact table that we have. Why? So if we do it over here, we might end up having the wrong one. Even at initial time, we'll have the wrong, the right one. Maybe we have 500 customers, for example. So if we do our count from this particular customer table, we might end up having wrong one whenever we actually place a slicer or a filter on it. So, but if we do it over here using a distinct count to count distinct ID from what? From the transactional table. So it will actually give us a correct value because the only persons who make purchase would have its ID left to fill up this particular place. That is what you need to understand. So using distinct count will definitely help you to get it done. So I've shown you majorly what I've done. The next one is actually transaction. For transaction, remember this particular table right here is our transactional table where we record our daily sales into, right? So what you need to do is to do count rows. Don't do count rows. It will count how many rows we have inside this particular table. So as you can see, this is the count of the rows giving us this particular number and total customers and the percentage of of profit margin. So let me show you the measure. For percentage of profit margin, we have this right here. So this is just what we have. So all you have to do for this percentage is to divide our profit by our revenue, and you actually convert it to a percentage, and that is all. You're going to have something like this. So those measures I've shown you right now, pause it and actually create them one after the other because they're going to be very important in the next coming creation. All right, everyone, let us look at the instruction we have inside our PDF before we proceed. Inside dashboard 1, so we are to actually do something about this particular, top and bottom analysis. And we have 2 questions being asked. So if I scroll down, we have 2 questions. So over here, as you can see, we have the first question over all sales metrics, which is this particular part we have just gotten, created. But we are not yet done with it. It says, imagine, so it says comparing current month with the previous month. This has to be some kind of technical work. We're going to actually write measure to have this done. And I've shown you the preview. You've seen what went in there. And after that, we're going to actually come over here and do the performance of top and bottom drugs, and as well for customers, right, buying those particular drugs. So let's see what we can do to actually have something like this achieved first before we actually come back right on these particular ones. Okay, I'm going to leave this particular place. So we are here right now. So the next thing we're going to do is to actually organize those measures in a folder. I don't know if it makes a lot of sense. So how do we organize those measures inside a folder? So we're going to actually break it down step by step and open multiple folders and have every single measure that has to do with one group inside its own folder. So click over here under the relationship view, the modeling view right here. And what I'm going to do is to open up the properties right here. Then once I've done that, I'm going to actually click over here because all of those measures are my first measures before I branch out from here, right? So I'm going to hold my shift key down to have a multiple highlight of all of those things selected. So what I'm going to do now is to actually right click. If I do right click, I can't find create a folder from here, but unfortunately, this does not help us. Where can we find it? Oh, that reminds me. So we have this particular display folder right here. For display folder, I'm going to call it measure 01, which is my first measure, and I hit the enter key and automatically it creates a folder for me where I can actually have these particular measures hidden. So if I go back to this particular view right now, you can see I have this folder. We can toggle and open it. I have it hidden and all of that. So this is beautiful. So now the next thing we have to do is to actually create the card. For the first time, I'm going to get this one off before we begin. So what I'm going to use is actually a new card. So over here, we have the KPI card that says new. I'm going to get this new card right in here. And I'm going to stretch it to this level. So for the time being, don't worry about the design yet. Okay, open up this one, and the first thing I'm going to get in here should be my quantity. Secondly, I'm going to get in my costs, my quantity, the cost of goods sold. I want to get in my revenue. I want to get in my profit and my profit now. And lastly, I want to get in my profit margin, which is this particular one here. All right. So those are the KPIs we want to actually create. But everything did not show up right here. That was because we need to actually do some kind of formatting before we see everything we have right here. So let's go to the value or this particular part, go to the call out value right here. And let's click on this. So we use 30 for it. So for 30, we have everything showed up. So let's go to the layouts. So for the layout, we show we show 4, show 5 now. So everything showed up. So just make sure max card to show will be set at how many items you actually have. So this is what we want. So for the if you look at it, we have the header to show quantity sold, total cost of goods sold, revenue, profit, and percentage of profit margin. This has to be all of those particular one right here. They would have to be actually dynamic. You understand? So based on what we have selected on Slicer. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to actually have to bring in a slicer over here. Let's go back to data, close this one. So let's go to calendar and I'm going to choose a slicer here. So, I'm going to get it deselected. So click out of this place. So let's go over to here now, bring in month. So we have slicer for month here. So for a slicer for month, what I'm going to do now is to actually convert it to a slicer. So every single time I make a selection of February, I want to see our quantity sold February, cost of goods sold February, and all of that down to here, right? So that is what we actually want. And we can't get it with just custom or with just some kind of default view. So we have to write a DAX that will pull that out for us. All right, before we actually continue going through this, if you look at here now, the value looks some kind of huge. So what I'm going to do is to actually go over to the measure, select this particular one here, and let's say there should be no auto or two or more decimal places. All right, that has been solved for us. So what do we do next? Next right now is to actually make sure we customize for our auto header. So we're going to have to insert a new measure on this. So I'm going to click on this particular value right here and bring in my new measure. All right, to get started, I'm going to actually type in here title. So with my title, I will show what my title is actually all about. So it's going to be for quantity, so equals. So what I'm going to do right now is to actually use the if condition to check what is being selected from my slicer. And you know what you can actually use to check what is the selection, from your visual, from your slicer, or whatever you actually clicked on, that is going to filter your data. So that function is going to be selected value. So if selected value right here, so for the selected value, it will return what is being selected, mostly if there is a single selection, right? So we're going to be dealing with single selection. So it will return what is being selected. And right now we want to check for month from our calendar table. So I'm going to close it. So what I'm going to do now is to ask if this is not actually blank. If this particular slicer here is not blank. To do that now, we use this less than and greater than right here. That means not like this. So, but we're not going to use not. So we use the blank. If it is not blank, then what do you want to do? We want to actually say, now this is what? This is inside double quotes. So inside double quotes, we type in, I think let's reduce this to see, okay, quantity. So it will be quantity in. So for this quantity in, so in what? I'm going to do this. So what I'm going to do next now is to actually return what is being selected. Then we don't have to type it again. I can copy this particular part right here. Control C to copy it, and we have to concatenate it. So I'm going to use the ampersand right here. I'll have this connected to it. Then I'm going to do otherwise if the result is false. So what we want to show if there is no selection right now should be total quantity, right? So that is all. So once we are done, we can just go ahead and have this closed. Very simple, right? So I'm going to actually try to look at this if it is correct. So copy it and hit the enter key. So we're going to use this to create for every part of it. You get it now. So it's something very simple. All you have to do is to try it up and see for yourself how simple it is. So let's go ahead and take a look at how this could be used. So this is what we have right here. Select it. And let's go over to this particular part where it says format. And let's go to callout value. And right now, here, I'm going to see, I think it's going to be on that label. So turn off the label. As you can see, all the labels have been turned off. Why? So if I turn them back on, so I'm going to go up here. You can see what is being selected right here is that apply settings to series, and we have all selected. So what I'm going to do right now is to select what I want to change for quantity sold, right? Then I'm going to scroll all the way down. So over here on that label, I'm going to bring a drop down. So where we can actually say, this is what I want to have right here, right? So if I type in some jargon here, I have the jargon being shown up, but that is not what I want. So I'm going to go over to this FX here. Then from there, we have fields selected. So we can go over here now and type in our title for quantity. Now we bring this in. So you can see it says quantity in February, but unfortunately it's written together. So we can quickly go ahead and correct it by clicking on this. Then we have space to be here. So once we actually go ahead and hit the enter key, this should be corrected now. Okay, now we have quantity in February. So we have quantity in March, and we have in April, in July, which is very correct. So how can we replicate the same thing we have done right here for other KPIs that we have? So for we to actually see what we're doing, I'm going to actually have to bring this down right here. Then we can click on this, right click. Already I have copied it to my clipboard. So let's see. So I'm going to have this pasted here. So what is next for me now is actually cost of goods sold. So all I'm going to change here is actually the cost of goods sold, costs of goods sold. And this one will be total cost of goods sold. So here I hit my enter key. I have this. So we create for every single KPI we have right here. Okay, nice one. So let me paste again. So to change this right now, if you look at it, we have quantities showing here and here. We don't have to do it one after the other or manually. All we have to do is to select one of it and go Ctrl Shift and L. It will highlight everything for you and you can actually change it to what you really want. So we want to type in revenue. So we type in revenue at once, and that has actually made changes to every single thing we want right here. And we do the same thing for profits. So let's go ahead and insert a new one. You can see how fast it is if you actually know your shortcut to get things done. So over here, I'm going to click on this one, Control Shift L. This one is going to be profit. So I hit my enter key without wasting too much of my time right here doing it manually. So for the last one now, it's going to be percentage of profit margin. So let's do this. Paste it here. Click on this. Control Shift L. So I'm going to do percentage. So PCT. Then I'm going to do profit margin. You understand? So what if we use normal percentage? Let's see if that would work for us. So I do this. Okay, I think this should be cool because it's not going to be too much or too long to show. So I'm going to hit my enter key and we have everything we actually want. So it is time for we to actually get all of those things right into one folder because they are actually titles and we're not going to have any other title aside this one. So I'm going to come over here right now. So we are going to close this one and we have this showing up. Hold your shift key to select to the last one here. So once you are done, come over here and just give it title. Title measures. So if I hit my enter key, I actually have a new folder. So going back to here right now, so I can actually do this and you can see if I want something from title, I come to title, want something from measure 01, I come to measure 01. That is what you need to understand. So with what I've done before, I think you should have the idea of what you need to do right now by going to call out, and from call out right now, instead of quantity, we select cost of goods sold and quickly we go all the way down to label. So open label down and click over here where it says auto. Use this. And what are we showing? We're showing for cost of goods sold. We just type for title and we choose this one here. We click on OK. So once we are done, it should change to what we have. So the mistake we have made is a silly mistake. I'm going to correct that. But before then, let's quickly add other ones. So make a change right here to revenue. And from that, we have to go down. Select this. So title for revenue. So now we have to do for profit. So we do title for profit. And then lastly, we have to do for our profit margin, the percentage of profit margin here. All right, if you look at what I've said, that is actually a mistake or some kind of flub. So we have in join with the month that is being selected. So to actually fix that is something very simple and easy. So you go to title, open the folder up and come over here. Then all you have to do is just to give a space between this. And once you hit your enter key, it will actually get everything done for you. So do that to every single of the measures that has this that have this particular error, and you are actually good to go. As you can see, this particular part is done, is very dynamic. So if I actually clear this slicer from it right now, I have my original name, which is total quantity sold, revenue sold, whereas revenue generated, profit, and total percentage profit margin. So we have to get this away. It's actually an error. So quickly, what we have to do, identify it right here, and we don't need to have total right on this part. So we just have to update it. So always make sure you check what you're actually feeding into here for you not to give the end user some kind of wrong impression. And they'll be like thinking, what the heck is this guy doing? Okay, if you have watched to this end, please, it's not actually going to cost you anything. That like button, just go ahead and hit it. And if you have not subscribed to my channel before, please do so. So if you look at it, what we are using here is actually the new card. So this new card has what we call reference label. So for the reference label, we want to utilize it to actually show the difference between March and February in values and as well in percentages. You get it right now. So which means we want to see what is the percentage change between January and February, February and March, March and April, April and May, June and July. So how can we do this? Let me show you. So over here, let's clear this. So if you look at what has been selected right now is actually March. If we want to get the previous sales before March, we should be getting February. So we need to actually write a measure that pulls that out for us. So I'm going to go for new measure. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, and leave a comment if need be. Ask a question in the comment section. I'm here to answer. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do right now is to say, okay, I want to get the previous, or just previous QTY sold, right? So equals, to get a previous quantity sold, all we have to do is to use date add with the calculate function because we are trying to change the filter context, right? So we do calculate. So we calculate our current sales, our revenue, current quantity sold. So we go back or offset by 1 month. So using date add. So date add will be looking for the full calendar, which is this one here. So we put our comma, it's asking for interval -1, means 1 month. We choose what we want, day, month, quarter, and year. So we want to have month here. We close this, shift, enter. We go ahead and close this, and this will definitely give us the previous quantity we have sold, right? So if I bring this up on a card, so I'm going to have something that looks like this. This is the previous quantity sold. So if I select February right now, this should be returning January, quantity sold for me, right? So what I want to do right now, I want to create a reference, and this reference has to be dynamic. If I talk about it being dynamic, I simply mean that if I want to show this particular value I have right here, right now, I want to have the previous month, which is January, attached to it. So because already this one is showing us the current selection, which is this particular February here, is showing up right here. For our previous month, we need to show it as well. So this one is going to be here because we want to use it for something else. So let's go ahead and get that done. Okay, what I'll do now is actually create a new measure. Okay, we have a new measure over here. Inside this new measure, let's name it ref, which means reference. So we do previous QTY equals, right? Okay. What we are going to do first of all is to check what month is the previous month before we even think of the quantity we want to return for that previous month. So what month is the previous month? So to check what month is the previous month, we're going to use a variable. So this variable will be underscore previous month, then equals, or we can say previous month view, then equals. So under the previous month view here, we use the calculate function to change the filter context again. So we're going to use the max function to get a max month. So here is a month from calendar. So with this now we close and we'll place a comma. So the first thing here after calculate function is actually the expression. The expression utilizes the max to return the max month. And over here, we want to filter our date table so that whenever we click on this particular slicer, it switches to the previous month before this particular February we have actually selected. So for you to understand this whole concept is for you to type it out, get data downloaded, load it in and follow accordingly. You will definitely get the same result. If you don't get the same result, always hit me back on the comment section. I'm there waiting for you. Okay. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to use the previous month function, which is this function right here. And we'll bring in our calendar, bring in the main dates, and we'll go ahead and close. Then we have this closed. So if we want to display what we have right here, right now, we can do return. Under the return here, we do return our previous month. If I hit my enter key, this should be just a text and it has to do with the month that is previous, which is January. Okay. To show this right now, what we need to do is for we to select here. Once we have this selected, we go over to format. From format, we click on the reference label. I told you we have reference labels. So click on it and make sure what is actually active right now is quantity, this one here. If I click on the drop down, I have all the measures I have here inside here. So you click on the one you want to make changes to. So over here is the previous month that we have. If I take it off, okay, where is that coming from? Okay, now let's just get this one in. Click on this and let's go over here and let's bring in our reference previous quantity. So as you can see, the reference previous quantity that is showing here is this January. What happens if I select April? That should give us March. So if there's none selected, we just do dash. This is what it is. Right? So we want to show this alongside with this particular value we have over here. So how do we go about it? So let's quickly go back to our measure, the reference. So let's clear all of this from here. So we bring in on that variable. This variable should be called previous underscore QTY quantity. So what I'll do now is this. I will only store here. I can even store it directly. I will store by referencing my previous quantity sold, which is this particular one. Is what I've referenced. I've referenced the measure I've created before. So the reason why I'm not doing this over here, because I don't have to create multiple. One is because I'm going to need this one to create my percentage of variance, right? So we need to actually have this one sitting down here. Then we reference it over here. So once we have gotten this done, the next thing right now is to look at how we can return our result. So we do return. So under the return here, what we need to do is to say, okay, using the if condition to check. If there is no selection, which means there is no month that is active right here, what we want to show is blank. But if there is an active month selected, we want to show the month that is selected and we want to show the previous quantity sold as well. So what we do now, we actually do underscore previous month view. So if it is not blank, Then we want to show underscore previous quantity, right? Then that is what we want. So we want to show previous quantity. But before previous quantity, I think we should show the previous month view first. Then we now concatenate into this our quantity. So which would be something like this. So the delimiter should be this. And we do this and we bring the previous quantity into it. And if I go ahead and close and hit my enter key right now, we should have everything set. So let's go ahead and check it out. So if you look at it now, this is what we have, but it's not making a whole lot of sense because there is nothing like the delimiter number formatting on this number, but it's showing us reference previous quantity March 19,312. So everything looks okay. But I don't, first of all, want to have something written together like this. I want to have a number formatting on it. So to have that number formatting, we have to go back to reference previous quantity. And over here, what we need to do is to get this one formatted, shift enter to get into a new line. And I'm going to do format here. So with my format, I'll go over before the close, comma, inside double quotes. How do I want to format it? I want to do hash, comma, hash, hash. Close this quote and close the format here. So hit my enter key. By this time, we should actually have the format we are looking forward to seeing. So let's go ahead and check it out. So if you look at it, we have it. So if I deselect it and I don't have anything right here, we still have the reference previous quantity sitting right here, which is what we don't want to show. We want to make sure if there is no selection, that particular label shouldn't show up. So this has nothing to do with DAX. We can actually control this reference previous quantity from here. So make sure this is selected. Then go over to your format and let's just click on reference label. So scroll all the way down. And here we have all. So if I turn this off right now, it has turned everything off for me, right? So which is absolutely good. So if I come over here now and select, so I have this. So which means whatever I do what I've done now would affect this one if I bring them in. Every single measure name will be turned off and we'll only have the customized one right on it. Do you get it right now? This is absolutely simple. So the next thing we have to do is for we to get what? Is for we to get the, what do I call it? Is for we to get the variance on it. So to get the variance is something very simple, but before we actually get that variance, why don't we actually do something by increasing the visibility of this one a little. So click over it. Let's bring it down a bit. Let's go over to reference. We are on quantity. So we go to this value right here. And let's put our value on something like 20. Oh, that is too huge. So let's do 15. Okay, I think 15 would make a lot of sense, but not quite well. I'm going to do something like 14. So 14 looks good because I don't want something too massive. So I'm going to go with 14 right here, which is actually best for me. And for the font here, let's go ahead and use something like this. So with something like this, I would rather use 15. So this pops. I want something like this. So we're going to change the color after all, but for now, let's go with this. So quickly, we need to go ahead and do for the variance. Right now, we are seeing what is for February and what is for January. So what is important now is to put the variance, then that will make a whole lot of sense. So let's get it. So we go over here, we create a new measure. So I'm going to name this one reference again, but this time around, I'm going to say reference PCT QTY quantity. Okay. So what I can do now is to just say, okay, I want to actually use the divide function to actually get this done, which is something very simple, right? So let's create a variable underscore pct change equals. So divide. So with our division, we want to first of all subtract the quantity sold from the previous quantity sold, then divide it now by what? By the previous quantity sold. And if I do this, close, this will give me my percentage. In case you want to try it out and see what this will return, all we have to do, I always love to return stuff to know what is going on. So we do return. To return this, hit the enter key. So first of all, you have to convert this to a percentage for you to see what is the percentage change. All right, let's also select this, bring it down. So now go over here. So make sure you are on the reference label, scroll down a little bit, and over here you click on add data. So we come over here and we're choosing the one that has to do with the PCT for percentage. Where the heck is it? This particular one, right? So now we have the percentage is down by 16%. You look at that? So which means the previous month is higher, the current month seems to be low. The current month is what we have on selection, and the previous month is what is not on selection, but it's showing up right here. So let us try to look at if this is selected like this. Now, the current month has to do with this. Is the current month is this, the previous month is this February right here. Can you see it now? So this is what you need to understand. But we're not looking forward to just return this particular percentage the way it is like this. Instead, we want to add some kind of icons up and down, and we want to add dynamic switch of variance of everything. So let's say we don't select nothing. So we're going to see something like this. This is still showing up. If there is nothing selected, it's still showing up. So which means we have no control what we should show, what we should not show. I've done it before. You can do it. Go ahead and pause this video. Do it. If you can get it 100% without looking at it or look at my result, then just leave a comment and let me know that you did it without looking at it. But if you can't, you still need to leave a comment and like, I have to watch you. Okay, I assume that you have done that. Let's quickly go back to it by clicking on our measure. Let's go with reference PCT over here. Then we are onto this. The very first thing I want to do right now is to actually create an arrow up and down first. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight here, remove it, and we type variable. We actually do underscore and we do arrow. I don't know if I get the speller right, equals. So to bring in arrow here, we have to do something. So first of all, we do if underscore percentage change here is greater than 0, then we want to have arrow going up. So inside these quotes, I'm going to do window full stop, and I'm going to have something like this pop up right here, then where we can actually get the icon used. So click over this particular one, symbols, and over here, click on this particular arrow pointing to the left and to the right. So go ahead and actually scroll down. You see different ones you can use. We have this one. We are looking for the arrow up. I'm going to select this particular one here. So we are going to need the arrow down. I'm going to select this one. Then I'm going to close this. And what we want to show here is the one that is going up. I'm going to cut Ctrl X to cut this one. Then close this, comma. If it is not, which is if the result is false, now we paste this right here. We do this. We close our if. And that is all we need to do. All right, we're about to use this now to actually condition what we want. So for that, we need to check if there is any selection from our month. Oh, I forgot something. There is no month to compare January with. So we are going to make January to look blank. If January is selected, we don't want to compare it with anything. So we just want to make it blank. For January, we're going to ignore it. So over here, we do return. Under return here, so we do if So we check our selected value here, month. So we close this. So if selected value month is equal to blank, then or, okay, let us use or. This two pipe means or. So selected value month again is now equal to January. We want to show blank as well because we don't want to show anything that has to do with that. So it's called Jan. So, comma. So what we want to show should be blank, right? So otherwise, if any of those seems to be some kind of false, then what we need to do right now is to say, okay, variance So for the variance right now, we do ampersand to actually bring in our format. So what am I talking about? If I talk about format right here, I'm talking about the arrow we have right in here. So we join the arrow, then comma. So, okay, sorry, we do this. So comma here, comma here, comma here. No, we don't need comma. We need to actually format the percentage because we have to concatenate our percentage to this. So we do format. So to format percentage now, we bring in the percentage change variable here. So we do a comma. We tell it how we want to format it. So we want to have one decimal place. We do 0.0%, close the quotes, then close the format, finally close the if, and let's hit our enter key. And now let us see what we have. Okay, there is nothing in selection. If I select January, for example, so January looks blank because already we have given it a condition that if January is selected, we don't want to compare January with anything because there is no month before January. So we can now go ahead and select February, for example. Then we have this showing arrow down. So if you look at it, it's showing arrow down because we actually have minus, right? Okay, there is something that comes to my head. What happens if I select this one that have an arrow up? So we have this. Can we actually try as much as we could to have plus 12.6? So let us think outside the box. What can we do to have that done? To add a plus every single time we have a positive value is very simple and easy. All you have to do is to locate the measure. And over here, we'll have the arrow going up. We can actually do plus right here. On our keyboard, we have a plus. So if I hit my enter key right now, I should have the plus. So let's go ahead and check it out and see what it is that we have done. So as you can see, we have plus 12.6%. So if we go to something like February here, so we now have minus 16%. So this is how you can actually have this done. We are not actually done yet. So we need to actually create a conditional formatting for this. So how do we create that conditional formatting? So we need to create a measure for it. New measure. So we're going to name this CF. So for quantity. So quantity here. Then what we're going to do is to use the if condition. So using if. So we're going to say if the previous month, was it previous month? I think it should be percentage, but unfortunately, we do not have the percentage as a measure sitting somewhere. So we have to recreate it over here. So I'm going to do divide. So just like what we have done before, we take our quantity, then we subtract the previous quantity sold, and we divide that by the previous quantity sold again. So we have something like this. So now what we are doing now is this. We're going to ask if this particular changes here is greater than 0. So we do greater than 0. Then what we want is to actually give the color we want. So I already have my color defined. I'm going to actually use our hash, then 6F, then we do 99B for the color I want, then do this. Or still, let us use a simple color first. So we're going to say give us green, then otherwise give us red. So we go ahead and close this and hit the enter key. So this will definitely give us green for positive color and red for negative color. The question you might be having in mind is, where are we going to use this? How do we use it? So to see if this is correct, let's bring it over here inside this card, take this off and bring up our conditional formatting. So we have red right now because it's on minus. Let's go for match. So for match, it should give us a green color, just like this. But this is not color, it's a text. So let's see how we can use it here. So we go over here. So we click over the reference label. So we still make sure we are on the quantity. And we select here our reference PCT quantity. So that is beautiful. So we scroll all the way down. So we go to the value area. So we now choose to use FX. And we select here field value. We select here CF. We choose this. And once we click on OK, then that would actually affect this. Now we have green. If I select where we have it, -16, now we're going to have red. And I told you I already have my color in place. So I'm going to do something. Go over here, then click on the conditional formatting. And let's change this particular one to hash 64F, 64F99B. Then this one that is red should be hash F E9 199. So let's see what color this is going to give to us. So here we go. We have this. Look at it. This one is reporting the color code, not more red or green. So if we go ahead and change it to match where we have positive number, so we have something like this kind of green color. This is going to look beautiful when we actually brought in our background, but for now, it's looking very weird. So this is what you need to do, and we have completed this. To do for others is absolutely very easy. So for the first time, what we need to do is to go over here, and now we have to place all of those one here inside a folder of its own, right? So let's go and create a folder. So we name this one reference ref. So we do QTY for quantity. So once we hit our enter, this is specifically made for quantity. So now we need to actually create for orders, like for cost of goods sold, revenue, profit, and the profit margin. So we have to actually, create the reference label for all of them. So we are not going to do this from the scratch. All we have to do is actually reuse the measures we've created, but you have to be very careful when doing this. Otherwise, you might actually create something wrong. So let me show you how you can actually get that done. So what you need to do for the first time is go over to the previous measure you've created, which is this particular quantity here. And we're going to start from the swan here. So start from here is very important. Just do as I do everything I'm going to do right here. So Ctrl-A to copy, and you create a new measure. So whatever measure you create right now would actually stay outside the folders. So we're going to actually put them in their own special folder after all. So I'm going to paste this in. So I would create for cost of goods sold. So over here, I'm going to change this one to COGS, cost of goods sold. And I have to quickly change this to the same thing. This is it here. So there is nothing else you need to change. We have just gotten this done now. So this name here, previous cost of goods sold, is very important. That is what we're going to be using. So once we are done with that, let's go over to the percentage here and have it changed. So we copy. So we paste it in. All right. So this one here should be percentage of cost of goods sold. So over here, we have to change it to the new one. So I'm going to take off this particular one from here. So when you do Control Shift and L key, it will highlight where we have quantity sold into, and we can replace that with cost of goods sold. There is no any error any longer. So this is all we need to change right on this one. So we hit the Enter key. So we have created for this. So this is for the percentage. Let's go for the value part right here. Okay, now we are not done yet. What about this one here? This one is still showing quantity sold. So we have to make sure we change this one to costs of goods sold here. That is very interesting. So try to actually change all of this to avoid recreating again. So we go for the third one now, and we just go ahead and copy. Then we paste it in the new measure. So what I'll do is to quickly change this one to cost of goods sold. And we just need to change this one here. This one here to cost of goods sold, previous cost of goods sold. So once you have done that, let's check around. Is there, this one is reading quantity. So we don't use quantity again, so that if anybody comes to the back end, the person should understand what is going on. So we have to change this. So what I'll do, Control Shift L, it will highlight this for me. So I'll just do underscore previous underscore cost of goods sold. That is all we need to do. So the last one we're going to actually get created right now, that will definitely be this particular conditional format we have right here. So all we have to do is to copy and create a new measure. So if you enjoyed this, all you have to do to help this channel is to like, leave a comment, and if you have not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that. So we just have to change this one to cost of goods sold. And over here, we'll do the same thing. Then on this particular part, we take this one. So we look for previous of it. We take this off. We look for the previous of this one. So 100%, we have actually recreated those measures without writing them from the scratch. All we just have to do is to actually make little changes to them, and we have everything completed. Okay, the usage now. Before the usage, why don't we package these measures inside a single folder on its own, right? So we go over here. Before now, I've taught you how to do that. Very simple. So now hold your Control key to select all of this, right? So we have 4 measures. They are selected. Then go over here and name it to ref. So cost of goods sold. You can put measures, right? Put measures. Hit your Enter key. So now you can compress it. On this one, if I want to edit it, it's very easy for me to edit. Once you double click, you can actually, can you see that? Very simple. So if we go back now, so we can now see they are all organized in different folders under calculations. Where we compress calculations, everything closes. You get it. Okay, now it is time for we to bring it here. And I believe you still remember what we have done in the previous one. So let's go ahead and click on Format. So from Format, we are looking to use Reference Label. So for Reference Label, we are actually looking at quantity sold, which is this particular one. So we have to change it from there to what? To total cost of goods sold. So we now click over Add Labels here. So we open this and we quickly go to the folder, which is this one right here. And the first thing we want to bring in now is the previous cost of goods sold. So remember, it's going to come with this. You get it. So in case the title is turned on, let's see, the title is turned on like this. Don't worry, just bring in everything you want. So I'm going to go ahead and do the percentage calculation, this one here. So we do percentage. This is what it is that we want to look at, right? So now to actually get this done now, what we need to do is to make sure we click on all. So when you actually select all right here, so you can turn off the title at the same time. They have been turned off. So the next thing we have to do right now, still on all, we scroll all the way down. We go to the value area here, and we select this particular kind of font, which is this one here, DRN, and we actually make sure we are using 15. So that pops what we have right here for us. You get it? So, so now it's working fine, but the thing is this, there is no some kind of the conditional formatting on it. So we have to put in the conditional formatting. So click on it and go over to label reference. So this time around, we're not going to use this series, select label and select all. So we go ahead and choose the one we want to actually format, which is the percentage, PCT, right? So we quickly scroll all the way down, and for the value area, was it the value? Yes, for the value area, we scroll a bit down. So here we have this. So if we want to change the color individually, we can actually go ahead and change the color like this, right? But it's not an ideal. So we already have a conditional formatting in place. So just click over the FX and click over here and go to field value. Then click over here, just type in CF. Then you select the one that belongs to it. So you can see it has actually been changed, and this is what we actually have. So if you want to actually follow along step by step and do this, so I want you to help me to get this one done using the knowledge you have gained from here and from here, so you could actually do this one. But for this one here, this particular percentage profit margin in February is a different entirely that we're going to actually walk through. But behind the scene, I'm going to complete this. I wish you could just pause this right now and try it all by yourself before you come back to the video. All right, now I believe you must have actually filled revenue and profit reference labels. So this is going to be a little bit different from all of this one right here, because on this one, we are not going to actually have based on month. All we just need to have here is reference, and it's a bit tricky. So let us open any of the reference right here. As you can see, I have actually put everything in a different folder. I have profit, quantity, revenue, and as well, I have cost of goods sold in a different folder. So whenever I want to make any changes, I go straight to the folder and I have it open and make the changes to whichever one I want to change, right? So what I need to do right now is for me to actually copy this one from here, this top one from here, to avoid retyping this over and over again. Then I go ahead and create a new measure. So this measure has to do with the profit or percentage change in profit margin. So I'm going to paste this right here. So let us name this one PCT profit margin. So it will be for previous year. Or still, if this is going to be too long, you can actually leave a description here that tells whoever is trying to read your DAX. So using this to be a comment, I'm going to do previous percentage of profits margin, something like this. Then this one here is going to be the same thing. I wouldn't change anything right here. So what I'm going to do right now is to actually start looking at how to get the previous month for profit, because I told you we are not getting any value. It has nothing to do with value here. So all I will do now is to create a variable. So this variable, we're going to name it PCT for percentage. So it's going to be equals, And inside the variable, before we retrieve the previous percentage margin, what we want to do is actually check what is selected in the month. So if there is no selection, don't display anything. And if January is selected, we don't want to display anything, right? So we have to use the if selected value here. So we check for the month, close it. If this equals blank, then or selected value. So for month is equals January here. Then if that is the case, we want to see blank. Otherwise, right now, what we want to do, we want to calculate. So change the filter context using calculate, and we have percentage profit margin already before. So we do this, and we say we want for date add. So we want to go offset 1 month back. So we type in the calendar dates, comma. So for a number of interval, we use -1 to offset back 1 month. Then we are going to use month. So we close, and we have this one closed. This is exactly what we need to do. All right, so remember we have an arrow that we have here. So we want to do, I think it should be variable. Was it that? I think I still have one bracket to close. So finally, I've closed this. So what I'll do now is for me to just highlight this, and I'll do this indentation. Highlight this. Your tab key will help you to do indentation to make sure your code is well arranged. So we go down now and we'll create another variable. In this variable, we're going to call it arrow. So I don't know if I get this right. So now we have to use the if to check if underscore percentage we have created right here. If it is greater than 0, then what we want to see inside here, your Windows key and the full stop will bring you this. So we have to actually go use this one, use this here, and let's go for the up and down arrow. So here is up. So we look for the down, here the down arrow. So we close. And remember, we're going to cut this away from here, Ctrl X, and we have to put plus on this one because we want to have it as a positive value. Then we close, comma, inside double quotes, we paste this one, and we have to do this. So we don't have to put minus where we have the arrow going down, because automatically when we have negative value, we always have minus on it. So we can go ahead and have this closed. You get it right now. Okay, once we are done, the next thing right now is for we to actually show what we want to return. So we want to return, I think it's going to be return. So the return right now should be underscore. We are returning underscore percentage, concatenate it with this, I think it's going to be the arrow, concatenate it with underscore this particular percentage right here. So if I hit my enter key, this is all I need to do. So let us verify this and see what it is that we have and if it is actually what we are looking forward to seeing. All right, we are going to check it out. Click on this. So it's called percentage PCT or profit. So click over here, reference, label. Now we're going to choose this particular one here. So we scroll down, we bring this in. Okay, if you look at it now, it's not making any sense because it returns huge number. And this is not readable in anywhere. So I believe you must have known what to do to have this fixed. So we have to go back to our new measure, and over here we scroll quickly down. So we come over here for the percentage, we use the format. So we go outside it, put a comma here inside double quotes. We want to show how we want it to be formatted. So percent. So we go ahead and click OK. So let's see what we have right now with this. Oh, sorry. This is what we should show, not percentage here. We should show the arrow. So now hit the enter key and let's go ahead and verify what we have. Okay, right now we actually have this right here, but unfortunately we do not have the month attached to it. So we have to make sure we have the month attached to it. So how do we do that to make sure we have something like this? So we have to click back right here, and then we need to actually write a condition that will give us what we want. So this is the result we want to actually retrieve, right? But before this result, something should actually happen. So I'm going to cut the result, Ctrl X to cut it, so that we can understand what we're about to get into. Okay. Okay, now the thing we're going to do is to actually say if selected value, month here is not blank or is equal to blank, or selected value, month is equals January. So what I want to show me should be blank. Otherwise, now, if that is not the case, we want to go ahead and display this. You get it right now. This is how we get what we want. So let's go ahead and hit the enter key and see what we're going to have when we get to the other side. So as you can see, this did not display what we still want. I think something is missing somewhere. That is a glitch. Okay, where are we missing something? Where are we missing something? Okay, we have previous month view. So we need to add the previous month view. So that was what we have left out. So we have to add the previous month view here. So we need to say underscore previous month view. So we're going to concatenate it. So inside here, we do this, and we have to get this here. So with a space, and we do this. And finally, we should have what we want to have, 100%. So let's go ahead and check it out. So can you see it right now? This is exactly what we are looking forward to seeing. All right. So the next thing we want right now is that this particular value right here does not make any sense where it is right now because it's not actually in line with our variance, right? So we want to push this because it's actually a percentage. So we want to push it inside or under here, where it kind of aligns with all the variance that is actually in percentages. So what can we do to get that done? Okay, what we need to do right now is to create what I call blank or measure. So I'm going to say new measure. On this measure, it will hold no number. I call it blank measure. Yes. Okay, let's quickly say blank measure, and we just do something like this, and we hit the enter key. There will be no error because already we have provided an empty, like anything that has to do with empty is a number, right? It's a data type. Okay, now what we need to do is to go over here and we click on the reference. So we scroll down. Remember, we have selected this and we have this in. Click over here, then bring in your blank measure into it. And once you have the blank measure here, this is what it is. So go ahead and push it up so it will be above. It will push this one right here. And right now, what we can do is to click over here now and click on the blank measure. And the blank measure, we need to actually make sure it disappears. So let's scroll down to value. Now the blank measure should be on selection here. So remember, when you do it for the first time, you're going to have all. So make sure you click on the select label and make sure the blank measure is selected. And we go all the way down and turn off the value of the blank measure. That wouldn't actually affect what we have. Then you go back to the top again and select your percentage, right? And you do the needful. So we have to make sure the value is actually 15. And we change this to this. We have to be consistent with our font type. Okay, this is what we actually have right here. But what about the conditional formatting? That is important. Let's go get it. So remember, we don't have to do this from the scratch again. We already have this right here, so we can use it. I'm going to go ahead and Ctrl+C the copy. And what I will do is to come and create a new measure. So I paste this in here. So to do this now, if I go ahead and take this off, I'm going to just do if. So we want to use the previous one. Then what happens if we decide to use this? Let's find out. I think I will do Ctrl+Z and have something like this. Okay, let's remove this particular part like this. And remember, this is our previous profit margin, right? You might be tempted to use it, but something would happen. So we want to try to see what will happen. So I'm going to do percentage of, what is the name again? That measure name should be what? Let's find it. I think it's Rev PCT margin, this one here. And if I hit my enter key right now, this wouldn't work. So we have to choose different name for it. So PCT margin. Okay, let's try this. If this works, then if it doesn't work, I'm going to explain to you why it is not working. Already we have this. What the heck is going on? Okay, do you know what happened right now? This here shouldn't be here. So I'm going to take it off, and this one has closed it. And once we hit our enter key, that problem has been solved for us. Okay, always put your eyes out there to look at what the error will be. Sometimes you spend some few minutes to correct an error. That is not a problem. So we quickly go over ahead and click on this and go over here. Then we go to reference label. We scroll all the way down. We make sure what is active is this one right here. Then we scroll down right and we click on this value here and we try to change this by using this one here. Then we go over to the gradient, choose this one. And once we select this CF and we go to the one that has PCT for margin. So here, this one here. Can you see? It doesn't come up. That was because this is not actually a value that could work. What we have there, let me explain. You can see this one is not active. Let's cancel. So this is not more value. It's actually a string. That is what it is, right? So if you want to verify what is going on right here, let's quickly click out and bring this over here. Then let's bring in our conditional formatting that we've just created, this very one here. So as you can see, this is what we have. This is what we have. So if we click on see detail, so you can read through what we have here. So it's read from here. DAX comparison operations do not support comparing values of type text with values of type integer. So consider using the value of format function to convert one of the values to number. That is what it is. So let me show you what is going on here. You need to understand this error. So this one here now, we have concatenated January, which is actually a text. We've actually put in a symbol, which is a text to number. Automatically, it is not more number. Instead, it is actually a string, right? To solve the problem now, what we can do is to click over here. So over here now, we are going to create something new. So we're going to say if. I think what we need to do is to just check for previous percentage. So we're going to use calculate, and we do percentage margin, comma. So we do date add. So we come with calendar, date. So -1. So we choose month, close, and we close right here. So this one now, we actually return this particular value we have right here, and it will actually set this condition, and we are going to have what we want. So let's see if I hit my enter key, what will happen. All right, if you have this particular hex code returned, which shows it is working 100%. So this is what it is. Let's go ahead and make a change to this. Click over here, then we click over the reference labels. We go down a little bit. So we go down, select this now. All right, so we go with the one we have created, P-City. Where the heck is it? And this worked. This actually worked. So if you look at what we have done right now, we have actually focused more on this particular KPI because it's very important. And whenever we actually change this, it will definitely give us, the view based on the comparison of April to May. So if it is up or down, we're going to see the changes based on what we have selected. And this is a very nice KPI we need to see. So if there is nothing in selection, then this is what we're going to have. And what we can do right now, we want to disallow people from selecting multiple months. So what you need to do in that particular case right now is for you to actually select what you want. So let's quickly come over here and click over here. Let us go ahead and use drop down. So we're going to be using drop down, and under selection here, we select and we just say single selection, right? So when we say single selection now, so it's going to turn on this particular one. So because it is January now, then this is what we are going to have. But if you know the end user does not like to see everything or just single selection, he wants to see everything, you can actually go ahead and turn it off. Then the end user can actually have the ability to actually make a change by selecting this right here and this right here. But the multiple selection wouldn't support this kind of analysis we have actually done right now. So when we do multiple selection, it wouldn't actually make any sense, because look at what we have right here. It can't compare because there is nothing selected. We are returning the total revenue. Before this kind of KPI could actually show us the kind of insight we want to show, we must have a single selection active. That is how this development had actually been made. So what about this? Nice, right? Your comments is very important. Go to the comment section and let me know what you feel about this, and let's proceed into the next level. So you might be wondering, what the heck do you have on your screen? All right, that is nice. So every single time I create a dashboard, I always love to create something like this to guide me through on how my dashboard should lay down. And from this, I would have in mind what are the insights I need to show. After I read the PDF, I actually did this. So which shows that we have a header here. On this header, we have the dashboard name. We have a slider sitting somewhere around here. That is nice. So what am I using? I'm using a drawing pad, which is a professional way to get this done. If you don't have a drawing pad, it will be very hard for you to use your mouse to get this done. So what you can do is to actually do it on paper and look at your paper and draft it on any software you want to use to actually create your background. So what we have just created previously is what we have here. The KPI and their previous month and the variance is what we're going to have right on this particular box, right? So over here, we have the nav, which is navigation. That will actually take us to a different page in our PBIX, right? So over here. So over here, we're going to have something else. This one should be a toggle that shows a slicer that is going to be hidden somewhere around here. Every single time we click on it, it reveals itself and covers this particular name. So when we click back, it's going to hide and it reveals this one again. So you need to have this particular mental reasoning. Draft it down. Don't just keep it in your brain. You might forget it and it will definitely help you a lot. So we have this box here that talks about the top and bottom, this one as well. So this is what it is. Then over here, you can see I put value here and value here, which means I have to show some values beneath this. So just like a footer. All right, once we have gotten this analyzed, let's see what else we need. So I have this website that I always use every single time I create my dashboard and I don't have the inspiration for the color I want to use, or if the company does not give me the color they want to use or their color palette, I would come right here and get a nice color for my dashboard. So this is actually color.adobe.com. So once you are here, make sure what you click on is the Explore. So once you click on Explore, you're going to have these default colors being mixed for you. Those colors go hand in hand, so it will definitely give your work nice look. So what you can do is to mix your color yourself. Let's say I want to use dark purple and I want to use white. So now I want to see what other color could mix with dark purple and white. So if I hit my enter key, this particular website would mix that for me. So if we scroll down now, you can see different color that can actually be mixed with that. So over here, you can get a very nice cool color and you get it used and all of that. So what happens if I remove the white from here and hit my enter key? So it will mix dark purple with other colors that can go along with it for me. So can you see it now? So do you see this here? So you can actually use this. Can you see? Just hover, and what you need to do is to click over it and you copy this particular hex code from here to be used. Unfortunately, we are not going to use this because I already have my color in place. Okay, we are right here on PowerPoint. Just go ahead and click on blank presentation and it brings you right here. The next thing you have to do is to actually get this off without edit. Then go to design. So from design, you have different ones to be used. You might decide to use something like this. This is cool if you want to go with this one here, this one here, this one here. And this is what we are going to use. I'm going to click on OK and I have something like this. Now, there is no way I can remove this one from here. The only trick I can do right now is to go to Insert, and from Insert, I click on Shapes. I get this particular one from here. I actually cover it up with this. So once I've done this, I'm going to right click, then go to Shape Format, or Format Shape rather. So remember, you can move this anywhere you like. So I can just bring this right here, anywhere at all. So I can try to make it a little bit smaller to fit into this space right here. So now click on this and take off the line. So click over the fill and let's go down, and I think we should expand this. So we are on the fill. Make sure this is clicked on. Click over here. Use this particular eyedropper and select the color that is close to it. That will actually hide that for you. Do you see what we have actually used here? All right. I still remember how I want my dashboard to go because already I have a sketch of it, right? So it is very easy for me to replicate the sketch you've just seen previously. What I will do is to go over here and actually work with shapes. The very first shape I'm going to work with should be something like this here, right? So get it down. Once you have it here, this is how it's going to look. So what I'm going to do right now is to go to this particular part here, and let's turn this, rotate this, flip again. I think it's going to be, let's do this, rotate to right 90 degree. Okay. So I'm going to do this. So I'm going to keep this here. Then bring it down. So remember, we have what we call white space. That white space is very important for we to keep. So let's do something like this. So we have something like this. So next again is for we to actually choose the color we want to actually use for this. Remember I told you we already have color in place. So let's go ahead with it. So over here, I'm going to choose this. Let me bring this here. So I'm going to choose this color. So use this particular more colors. So in case you don't have the hex code here and you're using old version, so we can be on the same page by using this particular RGB right here. So 110, then we do 50. So lastly, we're going to do 102, and that will give us this particular color here. So now let us turn off the outline. So we have something like this. So what if I try to be some kind of much more, what do I call it? Have something much more cooler than what we have right here. So I can go ahead and use more. Let me copy this color from here. Then cancel it. Let's go to gradient. Then from gradient, we scroll down. We choose how we want our gradient to go, right? Let's go with something like this. Okay. Now we're going to choose this one here and select the eyedropper. So we use a color from here. So we choose this one here, select the eyedropper. Okay, now we have this color. We choose this particular color. So select the middle one and we choose the eyedropper. We use something like this. And we're going to have this nice look kind of background. So if this actually gives you what you want, beautiful. So we want to make sure it's in the middle of it. So you have a guide, a red dotted red that go horizontally shows that you are in the middle of it like this, right? So let's Control X or Control D to duplicate. With Control D right now, we need to actually make sure we replicate this one. Go over to shape and let's rotate. Then we keep this one at the top here. We'll bring it all the way to this end. And for the white space we want to maintain, we keep the white space right here like this. So we have something like this. So let's just go ahead and shift this to this level. So this is what we have. Remember, we can actually come over here and do changes over and over again, right? So I'm going to just go ahead and bring this down a bit. So let's go with something like this. So when we have something like this, I don't want to use the gradient. So I'll rather go for solid line. So I'll have something that looks just like this. You get it? Just like this. Okay, what is next that we need to look at? This is looking fine, but not quite well. So what I'll do now is to go over to this particular effect and click on shadow, then click over here and use the one that has this shadow going down. So something like this. This is too much. We have to reduce it. Then we actually click back on this particular part and we'll have it reduced. And it gives us nice looking, wherever, like this. So once we have done this, the next thing I'm going to do now is to go over here and click on the shape. And let's go ahead and grab this shape here. So we have it down here. I can stretch it. So once we have something like this, this is nice. So for this rounded corner, I have to reduce it. I don't want something that is too much for me, right? So once I have something like this, the next thing right now is to actually choose the color I want to actually use for this, which is very important. So we have a different color in mind. So let's quickly go over here. No line, click over here. And now you click on more colors. Let's go over to the RGB. So we use 69. So we use 39. Then we use 80, I think it's 84. So we have this color mixed. So we're still within the range of the color we are using right here. So it's not really far away from it. So this is the color we have right now. So what we're going to do right now is to actually make sure this color is, let me duplicate it first. Bring this one down. Now keep this one right here. This color is fine, but we want to keep this one on 60%. Can you see it now? So it gives you this particular kind of, glow, whatever. So this is what we just want to be here. Now for this one, what we have to do is to create 2 more cards. So to create 2 more cards, we do this. We bring this to this particular place here, and we'll bring this down. All right. So we can come back here and change things around. I've told you that. So we keep this right here, and we make sure there is a space like this between them. So this is what we want to have. So once we have gotten this done, the next thing is to go to Insert again, go to Shapes, and click on the rounded corner. Hold your Shift key down and just drag and have something like this. Then bring it right here. Let's reduce it. Hold your Shift key down to have perfect reduction and have perfect circle. All right, so here we go. So I would love to actually take this down a bit. Then once we have this now, I'm going to go ahead and say no, outline. Then over here, I'm going to choose white. So for my white, I would, let's choose something like this color. A very calm color will look fine. Okay, this looks calm. So duplicate this one here. We need 3 of them. Keep another one here. Finally, keep another one here like this, right? So we want to make sure we select all of them and go over to Shape, Format, go to Align, and align them to the left-hand corner so they have equal alignment. And for we to have equal justification, I think we have to distribute her vertically, right? So they will have the same space. So I'm going to click on this one here and reduce the transparency, or I can do these 2 and reduce the transparency to something like this, right? So which means this is the page we are currently in right now. So very important. You need to note that. So we want to have a slider here, and that slider has to get a click that will actually show it and hide it again. So let's go to the top again, click on Shape, and click over here to get it here and bring this. So I'm going to keep this right here. So it seems this should be shifted a little bit, shifted a bit, then shifted a bit. Then we can have this one shifted like this so that this one can be something like this. All right, so we can still bring this back. Just take your time to do this arrangement. Do what suits you. You mustn't follow what I've done. Just do something amazingly. All right, we have something like this. We're going to duplicate this into 3. To do that now, duplicate. Do another duplicate again. So what determines what is going to be here? That will be what we need to create next, right? For the first time, this is what we're going to use. So now to create a switch between them, we click on this one. We just click over here, click on Home, and click on this. We bring this to this. And over here, we click, go over here. We just click over here. Now, just watch me do it. Then click on this very one here. Click on Home and click over here. And here we go. And click on this one. Let's see if I click over here now. So let's see the switch. Can you see it? This is how it will look in Power BI, right? So now, later after all, we can now look at what we can do to make this one fit into what we want to achieve. So this is the first one we're going to actually take. So all you have to do is to make sure you go to File. From File, we click on Export, and we want to export this as PNG, so or JPEG, whichever one you want. Let's go to JPEG. So make sure you are consistent with whatever format we have actually selected. So go over here, drag dashboard. Here we have this. I'm going to just do edit table, background. Oh, sorry, not editable background. So let me just say B1 for background 1. So click on save and just this one. So now we are here. So we have to bring it in here to see how this will fit into this. So click on canvas background, take it to 0%. Now you choose the image. So here we go. This is the image here. So we can actually click on fit. This looks like this. So we can move this one over here now and reduce it to fit into here. So reduce it to fit into here. So now we do stuff like this, right? So let's quickly go over to this place and turn off this. All right. The next thing we're going to do now is to go over to, I think it's going to be card. So go to card and turn off the background for card. Border turned off. Can you see that now? So it's actually giving it a facelift. So before you know now, it will look very beautiful. So let us deal with this for now. So once we have done this, the next thing I'm going to do now is to actually leave card and let's go to colored value. So for the colored value now, we put it on all and we change the color to any color of our choice. Something like this. I want something a little bit calm. So let's go with this one here, right? So this is it. So let's go to the layout. What's the layout? Colored value. We scroll down. We have the label. So we go to the label. We select the color we want to use for the label. Let's go with this color. So we are done with this. So let's quickly go for something different. So we go to the reference and we scroll all the way down. So for the reference, where could we turn off? Reference here. Let's choose all. So with all now, we turn off the background. Oh, I thought we choose all. Why is only one that is giving us the effect? Oh, sorry. So let's go back and turn it back on. So let's go up. So you can see here we put it on all. So we can scroll down and turn off this. So this particular divider, you click it and we choose something like this. Can you see it now? Beautiful. So let's go to the value. For the value here, we can choose something like this. Right? So now if we scroll all the way down, we can now see, I think, no. We go to card. From card, we scroll down. We see the accent bar. Click on it. So we have something like this. So if I step off, it's not looking beautiful at all. I think this one is not a way. I'm going to change it though. Just hold on. So now we're going to do something here. We have to stop using all when doing this. So we have to be specific. So click on it. So we're using all. So let's go ahead and turn it off first. Turn it off. So what we'll do now is to come over here and select quantity. Then we go down. We actually click on OK. So we choose where we want to start. I think it should be from the right. So it switches to this place. Now we choose revenue. Revenue. So for revenue, nicely done, right? So let's be matching the colors. Too bright. So except you want to do transparency, let's put it on 70. So I think it's going to be 75 will be cool. So we use 75, right? So let's quickly do for quantity. Quantity gives us this. So we choose 75. So we go ahead and now select profit. So for profit, we go ahead and turn it on. That is nice. Select the same color. So we choose 75%. So, and lastly, we select the profit margin. So we do the same thing. So we select 75. So now we're going to go ahead and have the card closed. Let's go to reference. So for reference, we are on all. So we need to select this percentage. So what we need to do is to turn off the background like this. So if I step off now, this is what we actually have. Okay. So if you sense that this you have right now is not quite okay, so what you can do is to actually manually go to card if that is what you want to change. So over here, let's select a different color. Let's select something like this. Maybe this will look cool. Or we can actually try to play around with the transparency we have right here. So now we are using 80. So we can go down to 90. So 90 looks beautiful. So what you can do to reduce this particular dash you have right here, so click on it and go over to reference. So once you go to reference, what is selected here is this particular percentage, right? So scroll all the way down to where you have the value. So click on the value and open it up, go down here. And instead of you putting the dash, you can just put a full stop like this, right? So just go back up. And I think we can even select all. Select all. Let's see if it will be applied to all. So we just choose to use the dot like this. So it's applied to all. So it has reduced it. This is what you can actually do. So over here, if I come and choose any of the months we have right here, so you can see it's applied. And this is actually nice. So once we don't have any month selected, we're going to have something that looks just like this. So what about this? Okay, we are still in dashboard 1, top and bottom analysis. So we are done with this overall sales metrics. So what we're going to actually enter into right now is the performance of top and bottom drugs. So it says identification of dynamic top drugs by different measures and the percentage contributions. So overview of the dynamic top and underperforming customer by different measures and the percentage contributions. Now, within you, how can you actually use the data we have to create something like this? This is what it's saying. When it says different measures, so we have measures like revenue. So we have measures like QTY for quantity. We have measures like profit. So we have measure like transaction. So in a single chart, how can we do this to return either we are returning top 1, top 2, top 3, top 4, top 5, up to top 20. That is what it means by dynamic. In most of my videos, I have taught this, but what we have here now is going to be a very much different from what we had actually learned over time. So I'm going to show you how everything should be done. Let's get it. So in case you have not subscribed, please do that. Your comment is very welcome, and hitting the like button will definitely help this particular channel to grow. So let's do it. So now the very first thing you have to do is to make sure you have everything right here being organized. As you can see, we have all the measures, the previous measures we've written in the folder. Okay, go over to this particular modeling. This is where we start from, and go ahead and click on new parameter, then click on numeric range. So with that over here, I'm going to do top slash bottom, because this slide would control the top and it will control the bottom at the same time. So leave it to whole number, and over here the minimum value should be 0, and the maximum value now I can make sure is 10, which is not really bad. In case you want to increase it, after we might have committed it here, we can come back here to actually make changes to it, but there is another way around to it. I'm going to show you. So we have increment by 1, then we have default. I'm going to set the default to 1. You can decide to set the default to 0. It's all your choice. So let's do it to 0 and go ahead and create a slide. Okay, this is what we have. Move it here. We go over and turn off the header for the time being. Let's put it at the top here. So if I open this part, you can see we have automatic measure being inserted for us. So this measure, if we go ahead and click on it now, the measure will look blank. There is nothing inside the measure. It's going to give you 0 because that was what we set our default to. It's giving you 0. So if I actually do this now, you can see the max is actually 10. So it stopped at 10. So what I want you to understand, let's go to the table view. So if I click on top and bottom now, this top and bottom should be for drugs. So I have to identify that so that if I create for customers, it wouldn't actually bring confusion. So it will definitely update automatically for me. It has been updated. So if you look at it, if I open it up, we have a measure here. This is the measure we're going to be using inside the measure we're going to be creating. Now, to increase this now, this particular 10, you can convert it to 20. And once I hit my enter, these numbers will be updated automatically. Can you see it now? So going back here now, you can now see we have up to 20. So it depends on what you want. So after doing this, it is time for we to look at how we can actually, let me just make this one smaller. It's not really important to keep it, but for the time being, we can have it here. So now we need to go over to measure 01 and let's bring in our total revenue. Then let's go over to drug table and bring in the drug name. So we're going to convert this one to a table so that we can see what we are doing physically now before we use the chart, right? So we have something like this. So let's go ahead and actually make sure it's visible to every eyes. So let's do 16. And for the header, let's do something like 14. Okay, we have all of it here. Can you see? Every single drug we sell, this is everything here. No filter, nothing. So what we want to do now, we don't want to return everything. We want to return the bottom and the top using what we have here. So how do we actually do that? So to do it now is actually very easy. It is not something hard. What we can do for the first time is to go ahead and create a measure. So remember we have this measure here, or this particular calculation here. If I open it up, we have our measures organized in different folders. So I'm going to click on this value, right click, I'll create another measure outside it. So within the calculation. So it's coming up. So we have this. Hold your control plus you have zoom in and zoom out to make sure you display this to look bold to the end users. So I'm going to say drug dynamic top and bottom. I'm going to do something like this. So if you want to keep a description to tell what it is, this calculate. Top N. Some girl's going to do top here. So this one wouldn't reflect. It's just a guide to help anyone who would look at our backend to understand what is going on here. All right, to get started now, we need to create a variable. So inside this variable, we do underscore drug top drugs. So top drugs equals. Okay. We're going to use top N. So with the top N, we have to tell it what we want to return. So if you remembered, we have we have a dynamic measure created for us when we created our dynamic top and bottom N, right? So you just type in dynamic here. Okay, this is it. So we have top bottom drugs. So this is the value that is very important. This one is actually a measure embedded inside this particular table. Here is a table. So when doing this, make sure you have this particular measure. How would you know if it's a measure? It has this particular square bracket. It's very important. If you don't do it this way, there'll be error. So comma. So with comma right now is asking for table. So for the table, we want to remove filter from the table we're going to have right here. So we use the all function. Then we bring in our drug's name in here. Then we'll go ahead and close, then comma. So next again is asking for order by expression. So the order by expression now is looking for how do we want to actually select this particular top drugs based on whatever we selected from the slide. So what measure or what value can we use to determine this? Then we will go ahead and use total revenue. Later after all, we're going to make this particular part right here, this very part to be dynamic than what we have here right now. This is some kind of mere static as of this particular time. So let's do this. So we are looking for top. Definitely we're going to use the sending. So once we have done this, we have it closed. That is all we have to do. So if I want to do, next thing I want to do right now is to go over here and create another variable. So this variable will be active drug. Active drug. So underscore active. So you are not going to do this by all means to have the same name with mine. You can change it, but just make sure when you change the name, you can remember what the name stands for. So for the active drug now, I'm going to say selected value, the drug name in here, store it, then go ahead and close this. So we have to return this. Now we have two variables. So we can't return either of them. If we try to return this one, this is a table. If you try to return this one, I guess, okay, let's try the second one and see. So we do return, so let's return the active. So returning the active, I'm going to hit my enter key and push the active here to see what is active currently. So select this and push in the active. So you can see the active return back to us all of what? All of the names we have right here. You can see it. So it's not responding to this particular slide we have right here right now to filter our data. But what happens when we try to return our top drugs? For the top drugs now, once we hit our enter key, we are going to have a displayed error. So I'll tell you why. So if I click over here, it's telling us that we're trying to return a table. So start reading from here, calculation error, measure, calculation drug, dynamic top N, that is the measure. So a table of multiple value was supplied where a single value or scalar value was actually expected. So it can't return it. Let's go back and see what is happening. So this particular part is actually a table. So before we can return this, we have to do this under if and actually give a condition why we must have it returned. So over here, I'm going to go ahead and remove this. So right now we're going to say if underscore active drugs. In this in function, I will explain this better, underscore top drugs. Then go ahead and return to me total revenue. Otherwise, do nothing. I'm going to do this and hit my enter key. So you can see the error has been cleared. So before we look at what this particular part is doing and why is it returning something, let's go ahead and take a look at what we have. So currently we selected top 4. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. If I select the just top one, I have only one right here. And you can see this is 1. So 7, we have the 7. So for this particular time, there is no need for we to keep our total revenue again. So the total revenue is no more valid. So we can actually go ahead and take it off. So it will only show for the selected top, right? Which is cool. Now, what is going on? Let's go ahead and take a look at our measure. We need to understand those measures. So the first measure here actually use the top N to return what should actually get us to return some values here. So what this does is this particular part is a number. So if not that we created it as a number, we would have used a hand-coded number, which is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in here. But because we want to actually change it, we make it dynamic. So for there to be top, so we have to remove filter from the table we're going to use. Otherwise, it will not work. So we want to actually return this particular top N based on the particular measure, which is this one. And I told you that this particular part will be dynamic. And because it is the top, we use descending. So over here, we store all the names of our drugs inside here. And what we are doing now, we have used this particular N function to actually do something between the active drugs and the top drugs. So let us look at the functionality of this particular N. The N function checks the value of active drug if it exists within the list of this particular one here. So remember, this one returns every single drugs we sell. So this particular in now would look like, okay, do we have all those drugs inside here? How many of them do we have? So check how many of them we have. If we select top 2, it will check those top 2 we selected if they are within this particular active drugs. So we want to return them alongside with the measures. It's not complicated. So we have gotten our result. It's just for we to understand what exactly we have done and how this can actually help us. So with this particular kind of explanation, you wouldn't have any doubt and you can write it without looking at it. So we have created for the top. What about the bottom? We don't need to do much work when it comes to the bottom part of it. So all we have to do is to go over here and actually copy this. Sorry. Ctrl+C to copy. And over here we do new measure and we just paste and do just 2 changes, I presume. So over here we do bottom. Then instead of we having this, we have ascending. That is all we have to do, right? So let's go ahead and hit the enter key. Then we have this here. So we can push this in. So when we do this now, you can see 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, but all in one place. And we cannot make any sense with this when we want to use this for chat, even though we try to go ahead and create a chart like this with it. So it wouldn't make any sense. We have the top here, we have the bottom here. So how do we actually create a switch between those particular 2 right here to make more sense than what we have right now? Okay, we have to go back to this modeling here. And now we go over to new parameter, we select field. Then we can now click over here and we say switch top or drug top bottom. That is the name. So make sure this box is actually selected. We'll bring this top in and bring the bottom in. So when we have this here, we can double click on it and remove this part. Oh, sorry, we are removing this particular part. So we double click on this one as well. We are going to remove this particular path. So what we want to see is the top and the bottom. So, and we go ahead and create. Okay, now we have this like this here. It will not come off as a slide. So right away, it wouldn't do anything. If I click on it, nothing is actually happening. So let us click over here and click over here. Then click over where we have our measure name right in. This is the measure names that we have. We have to drop 2 of them. So once we have dropped them, we can now go ahead and locate the new switch. So with the new switch here, this is what we want to use. We'll bring it in. But unfortunately, nothing happens because it's actually on the legend. Let's push it to the x-axis here. And we have this. So check what happens when I select top. So we have top switched to. When I select bottom, we have the bottom switched to. This is what you need to do. All right, we have done this and it worked for us 100%. The next thing right now is that we do not just want to show for revenue. We want to check the top for transaction, the top for profit, the top for revenue, and as well the top for quantity sold. How do you think this is possible? In case you think you can do it, just go ahead and pause the video right now, do it, and come back and look at my result and justify it with yours. Mostly, if you don't get it right, you are free to actually learn from me. But don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you have not done that, and as well, like the video. Okay, how do we do that? It's very simple, just like what we have done right now. So we have to go back to the modeling here, and we select this particular field. So over here, I'm going to name this one active measure. How is measure written? I think it's like this. So active measure. For the active measure, we actually do this particular selection, and we go to this measure here. We select this particular one, and we go over here. We bring in our transaction. Then we bring in our profit. We bring in our revenue. We bring in our, now I think it's going to be quantity, our quantity here. So we have 4 of them, right? So what I'm going to do right now is that I want this particular name to be short. So I'll double click it and I'll take off the total from it. So for the quantity sold, I think is okay. Or you can turn this one to unit sold to make it shorter, like this. This is what we want. I'll go ahead and click on create. It will generate another one for us. So we have this one here as well. So we can keep it somewhere around here for the time being. But nothing would happen when we make a selection because we have not actually get this in. So for now, go ahead and pause the video and try to connect it to this. Through this particular 2 measures we have right here is where we have to actually create the connection. So think outside the box and what do you think we can do to actually make sure we implement it right inside this measure and as well inside this measure. I believe you must have tried it. So what did you do? Maybe you have done something like this. So here we have this very one here has its name over here, which is active measures. So you might be tempted to use the active measure as a name, which is this particular active measure name because it will create a switch for you, right? So doing that wouldn't help you at all. So what you have to do for the first time, you study this. What comes first is transaction. What comes second is profit. What comes third is revenue. And what comes fourth is actually quantity sold or unit sold. So look at this particular number we have here. 0, 1, 2, and 3. They are very important. We're going to use this to create another measure that we're going to use. Because if you look at the field parameter gives filter, it doesn't give measure. So now we need to create a measure that can be used inside what is actually giving us this, specifically drug top and drug bottom. So remember those numbers because I already captured it on my memory. So I'm going to click over here. And now what we need to do is to create a new measure for it. Or still, we can actually create the measure. Let's remove this from here. We can embed the measure inside here without having multiple measures, because the reason why we have variable was for we to embed measures inside one single measure. So I am actually going to dynamic bottom now. At the top here, I'll create using variable. So I'll name this one here underscore dynamic measures. So equals. So let's move this down so we can now focus on what is going on here. So what I'll do now, this is the name. I want to store here using selected value to check what is being selected from active measure. So active. So the active measure has, I don't know how to put this for you to understand. I think we should understand this before, but how can we pause everything we have right here? So what I'll do now is just to select everything down here, control, then we do this. We have freeze this. If we hit our enter key now, there will be no error. If we come back, we can actually release it and we actually take on our creation. So I'm going to go over here now and show you something. So we go to active. So when we are here, we have 1, 2, 3 columns. This particular number we have right here, they are this one. So it's called active measure order. So we are going to use this particular order part of it, and it's hidden from our view here. That is why you can see the I icon has been turned up. So we have the order here, 0 to 3. Then if we go back now, remember I paused this to avoid error. So what I'll do now is just to go back, highlight, and control, you do slash, and we have it back. So if I choose active order here, I'm going to close it. So I'm trying to look at like what has been selected. Can you tell me what is actually active currently? So to check what is active and return a particular measure, so what we can do now is to do shift enter, we do return. So our return now will check using switch. So we now use switch true, comma, to check underscore dynamic measure. If it is equals to 0, then what we need to show at this time should be transaction. You can see how easy it is, right? So underscore dynamic measure is equals to 1. What we need to show at this time should be profit. Right? Underscore dynamic measure again, this time is equals to 2. So what we need to show at this part here should be revenue. Then lastly, we need to show quantity. So quantity sold. So we have 4 measures, and this is exactly what you do. So you don't have to call back the variable again because this is the last one. We showed this. and we'll go ahead and have this closed. Okay, I think I sense something. This should not be a return. It should be a variable. This should be a variable, not a return. So we type variable here, variable underscore switch measure equals. So let's close the gap. I believe this is not complicated at all. Okay. So this is what we have gotten. So what we're going to use now is this particular switch measure here. So the switch measure should be used somewhere here. Underscore switch measure. Here we use underscore switch measure. So switch measures. That is where we have to use it. Okay, next is for we to go ahead and copy this particular part. Ctrl-C to copy. So if I hit my enter key, we should check for error before we use it on the second one. So now, what happens if I select this? We seem to encounter an error. Let's go to top. Top is returning this. So let's just implement the same thing over here first before we look at the final result. So I paste this one here. And over here, I'm going to use the measure in here. So underscore switch measures. So we go down. We return underscore switch measures. So we hit the enter key. Okay, let's take a look at it. Okay, it seems to have an error somewhere. Let's see how we can quickly fix this. All right, the switch of the measure works 100%, but the returning of our top end here is no more working. So I can't tell what the problem is, but the only thing I'm going to do right now is to actually create a new measure. So when I create this new measure, let's watch it. So I'll paste the measure, which is this one over here. And I'm going to actually name it. Let's give it a name to avoid this error. So we give it dynamic. Measures equals, right? So over here, we are going to return. Instead of we creating variable here, we now do return. This is what we have to do return. So now we have dynamic measure, right? I'm going to hit my enter key. So let's go to this one. We can wipe this off now. We don't need to keep it. So once it is gone, we show here dynamic measures. So we do the same thing to this particular part. We show here dynamic measures. So let's hit the enter key. So let us do the same thing to this one. So we remove all of this from here. So we can take off this and bring in dynamic measures. take off this one. No, sorry, this very one from here and bring up dynamic measures. So now we should have it fixed. So let's select top 3. So now go to top, go to bottom, it's switching, click on profit. It works. We are seeing it by profit, bottom profit, then top profit, top revenue, bottom revenue. Everything seems to work. When we still select like top 6 or bottom 6, wherever, anything we select from here will definitely work. You can see how I just got it fixed. So it's just for you to think of like, why is it not working? What can you do? Just try different ways. It will definitely work. Don't just randomly try something. Use your past experience to actually, tackle the issues that is actually going on currently on your DAX function. So as you can see, this is actually working 100%. All right. What is next? We need a dynamic title so that when we select top and we select revenue or profit, transaction or unit sold, we want to tell people what is being selected. That is the next thing we have to do right now.